Thank you for joining us. This meeting is being recorded by the host of our participant. Hello,
recording
everyone.
your session.
Our presentation today focuses on cognitively demanding literacy instruction for students with complex needs. My name is Sarah Wakabayashi, and I'm a speech language pathologist from the Carter School. I'm also an assistive technology consultant for our district-wide team, and I'm honored to be here alongside my colleague, Carter School lead teacher and recipient of the 2021 Boston Public School Educator of the Year, Kimberly Kulasekaran. Quickly, we wanted to let you know that we don't have any financial relationships with Retopia. We are Boston Public School employees. And also, we don't really have any financial relationships with any of the products mentioned in today's presentation, but we definitely wanted to share with you some of the tools that we like. Here are our learning objectives, but you'll probably catch on as we go through our presentation. And take it away, Kim.
All right. Hello, thank you, Sarah. So the Carter School is a substantially separate Boston public school serving 25 students ages 11 to 21 years old. Our students have a variety of complex physical, cognitive, and communication needs. Many of our students have CVI or are legally blind. They are from a diverse, multilingual, multicultural families, and the majority are non-speaking. Our whole school focus over the last 7 years for this complex population has been on communication.
Which, if you are a speech language pathologist, you can imagine how excited I am that that's the case. And what's great about our school is we really try to do a transdisciplinary approach to instruction. That means every teacher, paraprofessional, related service provider, even our school secretary and lunch lady, we all know our students' communication systems. Everyone models them. We strive to really support our students in all ways so they can communicate effectively and authentically. I wanted to share with you a little bit of one particular student. You'll see a few highlights of students that we were given permission to talk about. And yes, our students have complex needs and multiple disabilities, but these labels, it's important for us to tell you that these labels can't really describe who each child or student really is. Mario is one of our non-speaking students. He came to us around middle school, and like other students that come to us at the Carter, oftentimes at high school age, they come with limited intentional motoric responses, and so very limited communication. Mario came to us, around, again, he came to us with excellent auditory skills. He has adrenoleukodystrophy, which was diagnosed around the time he was 9 years of age. And it's a devastating disease, which left him really with only one reliable intentional response that he could use volitionally, and that was his smile. And, with the teachers, we really wanted to shape that smile into something that could be a communicative response. And so what we use at the Carter School, or one of the tools, is something called the Communication Matrix, which you see up on the screen. It's by Charity Rowland, and it's a great assessment tool for expressive communication. It's online, and we use it for all our students. This particular communication matrix was done in 2017, and it showed that Mario could use that smile we were talking about, and that you saw kind of here in this little GIF I made. He could use that with what we call partner-assisted auditory scanning, where we gave him choices and we'd wait for a response. And, one of those choices might be, do you want more, who let the dogs out? And he would smile, and then we'd give him more. So he was definitely able to do that, as well as make some choices for things that he wanted. But the communication matrix, what's great about that is it shows us all these areas in white that represent a variety of other communicative functions that, we want to teach Mario how to communicate for. We can't just stop at, requesting for more. We really want to go further. And, the communication matrix told us that, he doesn't really use that yes to ask questions. He doesn't use it to comment. He doesn't use his communication to share information or ask for help or direct the behavior of others. So what this tool told us was, those areas of communication we really want to provide instruction on, give him learning opportunities to be able to communicate these other things. But, those are basically what it did, was tell us where we needed to work on in terms of our instruction for Mario, which brings us to another tool and another matrix, actually, that we developed ourselves. Kim.
So a few years ago now, actually many years ago now, we developed the Cognitively Demanding Task Matrix, or as we call it, the CDT Matrix. And we initially developed this as a tool really to deconstruct and analyze our own instruction. We were often asking ourselves, in our teacher meetings, why are some of these tasks so much more difficult than others for our students? And in really its simplest form, the matrix is a tool that we use as educators to systematically increase the cognitive demand of the communicative tasks that we provide our students. So we've really seen over the years now the impact of this tool in our students' ability to more quickly learn and use a lot of those communication skills that you saw on the communication matrix in the slides past. Not only use them, but use them with increasing number and frequency, and with more environments. So the CDT matrix builds off of that intentional response, just like you just saw with Mario and his smile. That level 1 intentional response might be an eye blink for some students, a smile, it could be a head turn, or a hit of a switch. The level 1 intentional response, really, we're looking for a consistent and volitional movement from our students. And so something that we know they intended to do. The movement is finding this response is really one of the first things we do with a kiddo when they come to our school or enter my classroom. And here, with the permission from his family, I'm introducing you to Carlos. And this was several years ago, this very cute picture of him. And we, right off the bat, we're looking at all of his intentional responses, right? So like, how is he communicating with us? Give him a lot of really fun ways to communicate. And then we were reinforcing these responses so that he would use them more, and all until we were looking for that really reliable, consistent best yes from him. Like, what was that going to be? So at the time, it really came down to it being his switch. So he was hitting, using his head to hit that switch. And he was really good at it. So that's in level 1, is where we're identifying what is that physical movement that they're going to be doing in order to communicate. And then in level 2 now, and usually the physical response stays the same all the way through. In level 2, we're really using, and we know now, our students' preferences. So we might have our student use their intentional response when they see a particular stimuli that we know is reinforcing, in order to earn reinforcement. So it might be earning that thing, or it might be earning something different. But usually it's, we narrow it down to a few really, really reinforcing things for our students. And for Carlos, it happened to be the book, The 3 Little Pigs. He loves this book. He is like full body excited when he sees it, when he hears it, when he hears the song, or you just name it. So we really knew, okay, this is it. This is the thing that we can use now to get him to really learn how he can use this response in a different way. So in level 2, we're presenting this to him, and when he hits that switch, yes, good job, Carlos, you get the book, and then we read the book together. We do this many times, but you have to be careful, right? We don't want to stay here very long. We don't want him just saying more. He wants this. We want him to move on to more cognitively demanding tasks. So that's when we move to level 3. And the middle here is where we are generalizing the skill. We want to keep the frequency of use up high. We really want them using their intentional response and being reinforced for the use of it. But we're adding in new and novel things. So here you might be adding in some new books that we think he might like. You can spice it up, choose new stories, have new opportunities. But really, we are looking for that same intentional response being used, just in a new way. So we don't want them just using it for one thing. We want to start increasing what they're using their response for. So in level 4 here, this is when it is really increasing in a big step the cognitive demand. This is where it's not just, oh, I don't even have to think about it. I see it, I know I want it. I see it, I know I want it. This is where they need to stop and think, right? You're not just, it's not a reaction anymore. There's certain things that will be reinforcing and certain that will not be reinforcing. So for Carlos, we might be reading a story and he sees a very exciting picture on the screen. Maybe it's a pig, who knows? And he can use that intentional response, the same response, but maybe using partner-assisted scanning. He can make a comment, share information, and he knows, and I know, that not every possible word or phrase Carlos can say is reinforcing. So Carlos needs to think before he chooses which word or intended phrase he would like to say to describe his story, share his comment, or be heard. Students are really participating in this level here, and they are engaged. In level 5, the very last level here, this is where we're adding in generalization again. The students are in control. Everything in level 4 is added here, but with some novel opportunities. We want them, increasing their environments that they're using these communicative reactions for. We want them to maybe have, more people they're communicating with. So maybe I'm sick one day, or he forgot his device at home, and now he's using his pod book with Sarah. So that's just a very quick run through of our CDT matrix and how we use it with our kiddos.
Phew. So on to literacy. Literacy at the Carter School now is our main stage or context through which we target increasing student communication skills. But it didn't really start that way. In the past, real literacy instruction for our students was challenging. It was hard to find age-appropriate books and texts that motivated our students. Our students tended to really like, excuse the train behind me, the picture books, the sing-songy rhyming books that were often seen in younger stories. But we still, wanted them engaged. Our students also, really attended better to some of those books. But we certainly still wanted, again, age-appropriate, textbooks. So we would adapt books, spend lots of time on PowerPoint, and research online resources, as you see so many on the screen right now. But overall, our students as a whole at the Carter, we really didn't have a curriculum. We didn't have any real continuity, across our classrooms. And in terms of student participation, our students may choose the book at the time, they might ask for more, tell us to turn a page, but they weren't really demonstrating comprehension or participating in more cognitively demanding literacy tasks. And that's where, again, we needed to look at our own instruction. And then came, the book that changed everything. Kim.
Yes, it did. So along with what Sarah was just saying, knowing that we had to increase the cognitive demand of the instruction we were providing our students, we had been digging into, literacy for our kiddos in research articles, any books we could find for years. But it was really in 2009, at the most opportune moment when we were ready for it, that seemingly from the heavens, comprehensive literacy for all dropped right into our hands. So Dr. Erickson and David Copenhaver's book was just so profound for us in its simple, clear directives that seemingly they wrote to us on every page, that literacy is for everyone. Literacy needs to be taught every day. So teach your students literacy, and here is how, which was just incredible. This photo is from 2020 ATIA, where we had the pleasure to meet Dr. Erickson and tell her how extremely excited we are by our huge smiles on our faces. And she really urged us, after hearing our story, you have to come to the Readtopia session tomorrow morning. It's exactly what it seems like you guys are looking for and what you need. And the rest is really history. We left there months before the pandemic hit with Readtopia in hand. And it was, so exciting, to say the least. In the next slide, you'll see here now, even fast forward to now, this is the growing community of literacy learning that Sarah and I are part of, everyone at my school is a part of, and now you all who are here are a part of. It is really, it's to the thanks to everyone on this screen where we are today. And really want to thank and are grateful for the commitment of Boston Public Schools, who have adopted the practices of culturally and historically responsive literacy, which you're going to hear a little bit about at the end. And you know, people like Susan Norwell, who was the initial person who got us started with literacy, and meeting Don Johnson in person at ATIA and over Zoom. He came on to meet my students. You know, Dr. Caroline Musselwhite, who's an absolute wealth of knowledge and kindness, finding her tips and tricks online. And really everyone you see on the screen here is just the reason why we are here today. And they've made a life-changing difference to both us professionally and personally, and to our entire Carter School community. And it's really just led us to have a greater understanding of our own instructional responsibilities, all of these people. So we felt it was important to add this at the beginning here.
Nice. All right, so Retopia, it really is that comprehensive curriculum we were looking for, and it's developed, you know, by, you know, through research, and a lot of the principles in Dr. Erickson and Dr. Copenhaver's book are part of the curriculum in this tool. Retopia has given us this content that we were looking for, as well as a host of other tools and strategies for teachers that help us all, you know, really provide that cognitively demanding instruction that we were looking for, but also for the speech therapist, you know, to engage our students across a variety of communicative functions. You know, our students now have something to talk about, which is really hugely important. And we've been using this curriculum for the last 2 years. Again, we started using it during the pandemic, remote learning, but we continue to use this curriculum now that we're back in person.
The teacher's guide. It's the so helpful, so helpful. In Retopia, each unit that they have has a teacher's guide that is just a wealth of information. It's completely detailed. It has all of those amazing instructional strategies and tools embedded within it. You might not even know that you're doing an amazing instructional strategy, and you've already done it. Things such as alphabet knowledge, reading comprehension. We even started doing math and science, social emotional learning skills. We decided that we were in the pandemic. We really didn't know what we were doing with Readtopia, and we kind of made a vow to each other that we're in you know, our little small literacy group we had compiled, that we were going to try all of these different units. We were going to try all of the lessons within each unit. And even though we might not have been truly successful with math instruction in the past, we were going to give it a try. Science, the same. And we were blown away by the engagement level of our students, how it was, you know, intertwined with the themes of the unit. And it really became a functional skills to teach our students. It wasn't just this one-off lesson. It was really something that it was embedded in a meaningful way. And I can't tell you, it joined all of us together that you see on the screen, and really led us to be a powerful force to guide the literacy initiative and instruction at our school. And it's continued on through to this day. But we really wanted to thank the people up on the screen here at the Carter School who were instrumental in getting this off the ground with us at the Carter School.
All right, so Retopia, all of the units, all the different books from Anne of Green Gables, Romeo and Juliet, 20,000 Leagues, they all start with a video to build background knowledge. And if you have students like ours who are quite complex with, you know, they don't have the same access as typical learners do in terms of being able to access their world, right? So videos are a great way to provide a peek at, say, the period close in the story, the setting, the characters' accents. And it's a great, again, just a great little movie preview of the book that we're about to tackle. It gets all the teachers and the students really excited about diving into the text. Another thing that comes with Retopia is the various levels of differentiated text. And how we did it at the Carter was we would start with usually the conventional level, which is designed for fluent readers. It's still adapted, from the original, but we would use this conventional form of the book to do a shared read aloud with our students. And it was just a great way to begin each unit. And then we would have later on in the day, say, rereads by staff with students using the graphic novels that come with each book. And one of the things our Carter Lit team did that was really important, and kind of one of our divide and conquer jobs, was to adapt those graphic novels to Google Slides, and just to consider our students who have visual impairments. Many have cortical visual impairments. So seeing, all those pictures in a comic book form might be a little overwhelming for our students. So we would adapt each book as well using Google Slides, high contrast colors, maybe 1 or 2 images per screen. And this just helped in our initial presentation of each book online when we were doing remote learning, but it also was a great way to, say, print out the books so our students could read them and flip through them independently and have that physical book in hand, maybe send them home with families once we were all back in person. We even had some of the favorite teachers read the graphic books aloud and record them so students could hear them on our YouTube channel or access them through a Google Classroom. But there's so much more. Again, the teacher's resource book has so many great strategies, and this is one of the ones that we just use constantly.
Yeah, so shared reading, we're often asked now, we've presented a few times on this, if you were a brand new teacher, you were handed Readtopia for the first time, but you were terrified, or you wanted to just get your toes wet, what would you start with? And I think time and time again, we've said shared reading. Especially for our middle high school kiddos who haven't had literacy instruction before, it really is a way that you can connect, enjoy each other's company, share in an interaction and read together. During our remote days, we did a lot of shared reading. And it was really important. This instructional strategy of the CAR method, if you haven't heard of it, it's actually embedded a lot into Readtopia, but also you could use it with any book, is a strategy where it's really all about wait time. And we never, I will be the first to admit, give enough wait time for our kiddos who are using devices, who have to, like those cognitively demanding tasks, think about what they're going to say first before they say it. It's really important for us to be intentional about providing that wait time, to give them space to participate. So how it works is that, you will be reading a page such as the one up on the screen, and you see a photo. For our kiddos who have low vision, we might tell them that there is a photo with, the 4 Robinson boys, and there are buffaloes charging at them. Wow, that looks like it's, it might be, if I was there, I would be scared, right? And then you wait 5 or more seconds, and you're intentional about calling it out that we're waiting. Then you can ask a question. If the students don't make their own comments, then you could ask them to participate. But sure enough, we've really found that if you are intentional with providing this wait time, more times than not, they will participate. They will engage in some way. They will use their intentional response, or use their dynamic device to say or add in their own comments. And then you're responding. You're really mapping meaning onto what they're saying, if it's just the intentional response, or you're, eliciting more conversation. There might be other things they'd like to share. And with shared reading, also, you can read the same book and it could be a different comment you make, or it could be something new each time. It could be a new focus for each time that you're reading a book or story, or even depending on which student you're reading with. So shared reading is just a natural way. It's not contrived. It's just a natural way to connect with your students around literacy. And it is profound. We have found it's like the one thing that if you could do would be this. And it was a great opportunity in modeling the use of it online. Their families were with the students most of the time, and all of the staff at the Carter School, and it would be for me too, right? So we could share feedback with one another, or even just talk about what the strategies we were using and why. And it was just really powerful for us during the pandemic to be able to have this opportunity to do together. And it's definitely carried over into the in-person instruction at the Carter School.
Here's a little example of a one-on-one shared reading I have with my student, Ashley, who has significant visual impairments. She's 16 years old, and her family was very proud to let us share her video with you. She's one of those kiddos who really likes to examine things and manipulate objects really up close to her face. She uses a Big Mac with a pre-recorded message, yes, and we do partner-assisted auditory scanning with her using a very simple pod type book. In this lesson, we're doing shared reading and again, trying that CAR method. And in addition to the shared reading though, my aim was to kind of also have her really start to connect to this concept of words. So what I ended up doing was printing out some of the words and laminating them, making them visually accessible, putting them on, black background to have that high contrast, and giving her the opportunity to manipulate these things and bring them close to her face. And start to learn that this image in front of her is a word that we can use to symbolize, a variety of things. So let me show you the video. And this is Ashley. And let me make sure, close caption. Yep. They are Capulets. And this is their last name. Capulet. Capulet. Spell it. C-A-P-U-L-E-T. Capulet. The other family's name, let's see in here in the book here. The last name of the other family was Montague. Take a look at that. Yes, Montague. And here's the Montague family. The Montague family. And that's their last name, M-O-N-T-A-G-U-E. Montague. You want to take a look at the Montagues? Yep, 2 families. Yes, you do. Super. Uh-oh. You know what it says here? It says here the Capulets and the Montagues hated each other. Oh, no. No, no, no. You know what we should do? Yeah, it's true. They did not like each other. Not like. Not like. Right? So the Capulets did not like the Montagues. Oh no! Ah! They were enemies. Yeah. The Capulets did not like the Montagues. It's terrible. Terrible, terrible. They did not like each other. Yep. They did not like each other. You want to read the sentence? Yeah. Capulets did not like the Montagues. And guess what? Uh-oh. The Montagues did not like the Capulets. Oh. Oh no. The Montagues did not like the Capulets, and the Capulets did not like the Montagues. not like they were enemies. They hated each other. Guess what? In our story, should we go back to the story? Yes. Yep. Taking the book. Like we should read some more. Oh. Yeah, we should read some more and find out a little bit. Yep. Yes. I love this video, especially when Ashley takes her hands and kind of runs them across all the words like she's reading it. Another great thing about this shared reading experience, and Kim kind of touched on it a bit. It's just a great way to have this routine with this book, this physical book, work and promote joint attention, build that routine of social interaction, having that wait time. So there's like turn taking. So again, it's just a shared reading. This type of shared reading it's just a beautiful place, a way to build a relationship and teach communication skills. So I've really enjoyed being able to participate with our students reading like this. All right, whoops. And I do that every time. Okay, Kim.
So another one of the essential components, we keep talking about these essential components of emergent literacy instruction, but they're all equally vital. And alphabet recognition, or teaching the alphabet, has been something that I think in the past was maybe not deemed age appropriate, and now completely is. If your students don't know the alphabet, they need to learn it. So it's been really a wonderful addition to every school day, and our students are enjoying it and are so engaged in this. The alphabet knowledge is fundamental to literacy learning, knowing the names of the letters and the sounds they represent. I've been using the Learning Letters resource that you see up on the screen here for a while now. We started actually using it through First Author when we were doing that before the pandemic, and it is now within Retopia, you have this resource, and it's great because it's very explicit about how you can teach each letter, even with examples if you want to use them. And so we really use 4 steps in our day to do the letter of the day, is what we've chosen to do. And there's a lot of research behind that in comprehensive literacy for all and outside of that. So we do 4 things every day. We have a letter of the day. So we say, okay, we are going to identify the letter. It might look something like, let's practice naming this letter. You can say it to yourself while I say it out loud. So today it looks like it's the letter C, right? And throughout the day, the whole day is the letter C. So if you see this letter, or if you hear the sound the letter C makes, at any time throughout the day, we notice them using their intentional responses, or maybe finding words that start with the letter C on their devices. It's just something that carries through the theme of the day. The next step would be letter sound identification. So we might practice saying the sound the letter represents. You can say the sound to yourself while I say it out loud. We are looking at students' names constantly. We're doing attendance. We are talking about the names of the therapists when they're coming in, and our own staff attendance. There's so many opportunities to talk about the letters in all parts of our day. And then one of the next parts during our literacy time is recognizing the letter in text. So in that day's read aloud, we might be, it looks like today was the letter S, and we're doing Swiss Family Robinson. So I'm reading slowly, and this is when you might be using one version of the text versus a very lengthy page, to have our students use their indicating responses when they hear the sound S, the S sound, or when they see the S when I'm reading. So you're really breaking it down to smaller steps, and it's a way for them to holistically understand the letter and the sounds that the letter makes. The last part is producing the letter form, and there's so many ways we can do this, but we have a ton of the alphabet flip books in my classroom. And we're also using whiteboards. So I have usually a flipboard and a whiteboard so that we can, use partner assisted scanning to say which letter they would like to choose, and then we write it out. Or they could use their keyboards in their devices. We have several eye gaze devices in our classroom. And you see here a picture of a student using Wiki Sticks. There's so many tactile ways that you can produce letters, change letters around, make words. So it's really, I think you'll see in a slide coming up the stations that we have, but you can tailor it individually to each student and their needs if they have low vision or if they're using tactile symbols. So going along with learning the letters is another foundation of literacy, phonological awareness. And this is really how you can manipulate sounds and letters. So there's, like I've said before, our kiddos really need this type of instruction taught explicitly, and which also usually, if we can, is in one-on-one instruction. So we might be, talking about syllables, and we might be using the names to write out our attendance or to write to somebody. And we might all be clapping out, and you might put them, in categories of, I have one syllable in my name, but Sarah has two. And, one of my other students has 3 and 4. So we're constantly breaking words up into syllables, talking about how many there are, and, just simple tricks that, like, it happens to be that there is a vowel in every syllable. And that is sometimes a helpful trick for students and staff. Onset rhyme awareness. It's always great to do poetry with this, rhyming words, common endings to our names, to words, to our new vocabulary words in each and every unit. Such a great opportunity to break apart words. And then lastly is the phoneme and phonemic awareness, and understanding the individual sounds that are in each word. And it's, these are pretty abstract. It's not just, this is the letter C. What is this? Letter C. Yes. It's really things that you have to think about. So it's really great that we're able to explicitly teach each of these skills individually and then embed them throughout the day with fun activities. But I think you'll see on the next page, or next slide. So here you see Bobby, one of my teaching assistants, teaching the letter J in explicit instruction. We have them labeled in bins at their stations that can be completed in 1, 2, 3, left to right, just like how we read. And so the students are working on little itty bitty tasks, quick tasks. They can earn reinforcement for them, or share the items with their friends, or have me review it if they'd like. And then we're embedding these skills throughout the day. So we might have a garden scavenger hunt where they have to go find the letters of their name, or maybe it's today we're going to find the syllables in our names. You have to find them within each syllable. And there's so many ways that you can make this fun and engaging. And we really have loved writing. Has been a huge way to teach all of these individual skills. And I think someone posted the first author. It was a really beautiful way for our students to express themselves with all writing. But yeah, so all of these skills are equally important.
As you probably heard, we do concentrate a lot on our students' names because it's a great beginning way for our students to really connect with this idea of a word, right? So making connections to their names, favorite staff people's names, builds their understanding of identity, right? And it's also just been really motivating for our kids in terms of connecting with their names, again, that idea of alphabet knowledge and phonemic and phonological awareness. But we do, of course, want to take our students further. And as the great Ralph Ellison states, it is through our names that we first place ourselves in the world. Our names, being the gift of others, must be made our own. And the Retopia unit on Romeo and Juliet was a perfect book to really talk about that concept of names. What's in a name, right? That which we call a rose by any other name would smell just as sweet. What a better way to teach the emergent literacy concept of words in print, to draw attention to the concept of a name, a label, a written word, and to do that through Shakespeare for our students. That was just mind-blowing, and to do it in a fun way was just just such a gift for our community. Two households, both alike in dignity, in Fair Verona, where we lay our scene. Those are the first lines of Romeo and Juliet, right? And it's the first lines talk about family names, the Capulets and the Montagues. So our lesson with the students was, to talk about students and their family names. So going beyond, just Carlos, but talking about Carlos Cabrera, and so in this lesson, which was taught in person, I printed out and laminated each student's names. I used Roman word bubbling, which you saw when I was doing Ashley's little video. It's a great tool that's online as well. And you're able to highlight and shape the entire word. So it kind of pops out for our students with CBI. Laminated them, Velcroed them, so our students can manipulate, and I could manipulate them while I'm reading, right? Drawing attention to the name as I talked about it. Students with CBI not only can rely on, these colors and that high contrast, but movement of these words is hugely important to draw their visual attention and to teach them to look. So again, having them being able to laminate and manipulate these names was important. And for example, when Juliet asks Romeo to doff his name, right, doff that name Montague, I would, pull the name Montague and throw it on the floor. And that gave our students an opportunity too, in an activity to, play with words as well, and to doff Romeo's name and then choose, their last name, possibly like Sydney did, to rename and make someone else use her name. So it was just a really great and fun way to kind of, again, play with names, but also target those communicative functions that the speech therapist really wants to expand upon. Again, directing the behavior of others using these names, renaming people, identifying people. So to be able, again, to do this with Shakespeare was crazy important and crazy special for me. And now we have Carlos.
Yeah, so here you will see Carlos again. So once again, talking about the essential components of literacy instruction, this infographic here is really great at identifying what is the difference between daily emergent literacy interventions and conventional interventions. And the emergent interventions are things that we've talked about, like shared reading. We will be talking about predictable chart writing, that alphabet and phonological awareness, and then having opportunities to do independent writing with access to the full alphabet, independent reading, and symbol-based communication. These are things that are really important, and that we've tried to kind of piece out during our presentation. Click again, Miss Sarah. So one more time. And so here you will see what I found doing some really deep digging. This is actually on one of Caroline Musselwhite's websites. In 2019, tip number 3, I found this, is the Adapted Bridge Literacy Scale by Erin Sheldon. And I just am the biggest fan of this because there are, 5 or 6 essential components to emergent literacy, but this really breaks it down with the dozens of skills within each component that we need to teach. And if you're familiar with the communication matrix, the HES matrix, or even our CDT matrix, they go from the most simplest to most complex tasks from left to right. And so this was huge for me to find, because it was a way for me to really, without having a curriculum that addresses all of these skills, there's no wonder why students who come to us at the age of 11, 12, 13 have such huge gaps in their literacy instruction. So through Readtopia, we're really able to address all of these. But in the next slide, you will see that we did just that. So, I happened to find it right around the time when we had Carlos's up and coming IEP, meeting, and it was great to sit down as a team and fill this out. So, we used erasable highlighters, which are a thing, and they're amazing. All of the red are the skills that we highlighted that he has mastered. And then up until the point where the yellow is the next skill that we need to work on explicitly, so that he can kind of move off these pages and into more conventional literacy instruction. So that's the goal here. And it was so amazing. I think you can click one more time and you could see the breakdown. So this is what actually ended up being written on his literacy profile we put together. These are the skills that we're going to target next. And it's just, it's wonderful. It's also a visual way to kind of see the progress you're making. And most of these little tiny skills are things that we can put in their workstations as, little activities or, little tasks that they can do throughout the day, and really move that marker so that we can, progress them through their literacy instruction. So in the next page, you'll see the communication matrix once again that Ms. Sarah talked about earlier. And it's interesting, you can imagine me with a beautiful mind up on the wall here, but on the big conference room table with them all printed out, you can start to see connections, right? So it's interesting to me that, Carlos is really at that level 6, right? And here you can really start thinking about how literacy is such, a huge piece of his instruction. It says here right on the page, symbols represent or stand for something else, like phonemes. At level 6, individuals use abstract symbols that are not physically similar to what they represent, like letters and words. At this stage, symbols are used one at a time. So in the box that I kind of broke out to the right, you can see that how beautifully these communication skills can be addressed in shared reading alone, like, requesting an action or object, such as the book, asking questions, naming things, people, comments. You could find key details in a story, the main idea, the setting. So this is really just, it was kind of like an aha moment for me. And it kind of led to the creation of the next slide, which is putting this all together. And this is like an overall literacy snapshot, the literacy profile for Carlos. And it's really usable for me as the teacher who, is working with a lot of different therapists, a lot of different disciplines, and our own classroom staff and his family to talk about, this is where he's at, and this is all the next things we need to be working on, so that it's like the all-encompassing literacy profile for him, so that we can get him to that next level. And some you'll find on here were just like access roadblocks, such as him not being able to even have an opportunity to independently read books during the day. So it was like, okay, well, let's set him up with the Tumble books and on his eye gaze device. And, so just helps you think about all these things and how you can provide opportunities for him to practice these skills, and really, getting him to that next level where he could be a conventional literacy learner. Okay.
We'll let the train go by and catch our breath. So I love the profile that Miss Kim put together, and now that we have done, we really want to now think about, okay, what do we do in our instruction? So the cognitively demanding task matrix is a tool that will guide our explicit instruction and help us focus on those skills where maybe Carlos might be getting stuck. So for example, let's say, when Carlos uses partner-assisted scanning to identify letters, initially he would often, he loved the letter C, obviously, because that was the first letter of his name. He got lots of reinforcement every time, we went through the ABC chart and, what letter does your name start with? A, B, C, and he'd be all ready to, say yes to that letter C. We gave him all these cheers, lots of reinforcement. But then there were those times when, the question wasn't, what's the first letter of your name, right? We might just hold up the ABCD chart, flip book, and he would automatically, as soon as we got to C, would be like, yes. But we were like, wait, you need to listen to the question again, and so instead of stopping there and resigning to that notion that, oh, he really just doesn't get it. He only knows the letter C and that's all he's going to use the ABC chart for. Instead of, stopping there, what we needed to do was analyze the tasks that we were giving him. So using the CDT matrix really helps figure out for us how we need to adjust our instruction. So what is Carlos doing when he's, answering yes for that letter C? He is using a level 2 simple discrimination, right? I see the ABC chart, I'm going to answer C. That's what I do, and I get lots of cheers. So what do we want? We want him to go further. We want him to learn that there are other letters and sounds, and then combinations of letters and sounds in words, right? So we want him to make conditional discriminations, that level 4. And so we have to have devise instruction where he needs to learn to stop and think when he sees the ABC chart, and really listen to the question and really think about what the answer needs to be. So we teach him things like, that there are multiple letters that can be reinforcing, that J is an awesome letter, that, is the first letter of his friend's name, Javon. We might also talk about how different letters make different sounds. Again, that some letters like, C make that K sound, but there's also this great letter, K, right? That's the first, whoops, sorry, I'm blurring my background, so it's hard to see. K, that's the first letter in Kim's name that makes the same K sound. We're also going to talk about, C makes that K sound. Sometimes it makes the Ch sound, and it also sometimes makes the S sound. It depends, right? It depends on the context. What's next to the letter, where it is in the word. So that those tasks are conditional discriminations, and we need to provide Carlos and all our students with opportunities to really learn to stop and think before they can answer correctly. So again, it's all about our instruction and what we do as teachers to teach our students these skills.
All right, we're nearing the end here, so I'm going to go really quick, but just wanted to show you a snapshot of some workstations that we have for our students that you can really have ready to go, pre-made tasks for our students that have those little explicit skills that you saw in that literacy profile. Repetition with variety in everything we do. In the next slide, you can see the foundations of writing. And like I said before, writing, I loved First Author. It was so nice because it was intentional about the time you need to spend doing it and the brainstorming involved with the predictable chart writing. And it also, once a week would, make them a star. We actually made a stage in the corner of our classroom and they got to present their work, their writing samples to whomever they would like. And, they even got to choose if they wanted it read aloud, and they could choose who they wanted to record it onto their switches. It just gave them so much control and empowered them to be, writers, express themselves in whichever way they would like. So the addition of writing has just been really beautiful. And, there's a lot of opportunities to do this in Retopia. In the next slide, I think you'll see that this is kind of what predictable chart writing is all about. You have a prompt and then you brainstorm, and you could brainstorm just with one student or with the whole class, including staff if you'd like, about, this prompt was I dream about within the Swiss Family Robinson book. And then you kind of brainstorm it all together. You have a list. And then in the next slide, you can see we then go, maybe one-on-one or small group, and the students get to choose using their indicating responses what they would like to write about, what of these brainstorm topics, and or, something different. They want to write about something different. So on this one day, he wrote that I dream about going to the beach with my family. And what a beautiful sentiment and writing sample that he got to then send off or send home with his family. Let's see here. So another great comprehension strategy, retelling of these stories. The students love this. We actually went online and they got to choose the puppets that we used in the fall for Romeo and Juliet. And they chose this Romeo here that Javon is holding up, and they reenacted the scenes, so retelling comprehension, what happened in this chapter, who killed Tybalt? And I'm sorry to spoil it if you don't know the story of Romeo and Juliet, but it does not end well. And this was a scene that they chose to put together and then invite, when we had gotten to our last chapter, to invite some people down to see what had happened and how we felt about it. So yeah, there's so many great ways to make this, especially back in person. It's been such a great way to engage our students in a different way with these units.
This is just one quick story before we go on to one more book. This dress that I found in my Halloween closet, I thought was a perfect Romeo and Juliet costume. So of course I threw it on, I donned it. And then one of the days that I did this, I snuck into class and I yelled, I didn't yell, but I said, Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou, Romeo? And Kim's classroom and her students had been reenacting the story so often that, of course, Javon, who had played Romeo pretty much every single time, I heard his little voice say, "I am here," when I called out for Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou, Romeo? So that was super exciting for the speech therapist to hear. But another great thing too was having our students direct behavior for us. So not only did I wear the dress, but the students requested, or actually directed other people to wear the dress. We were able to have them also comment who wore it best. And, again, making it's so important for our students to be able to have that power of making someone do something, especially when they don't want to, right? And to put on a dress like this was really fun for all of them. And again, a visual component. Ashley, who's, has that cortical visual impairment, the fact that this dress happened to be red and gold and yellow and velvety and crinkly and made some beautiful sound really gave the opportunity for our students with visual impairments to kind of, really interact with these props that were part of our story retells. The last thing we wanted to end on was this other unit called Tuskegee Airmen. There were so many that we really, really loved. This one was a kind of fictional biography, but based on the important members of the Tuskegee Airmen who fought in World War II. And what was great about this unit was we got to really tackle, certain concepts like, who are the people in your life that change the world, but also make headway into how you can change the world. So it started with a story of a young man named Henry who really wanted to become a pilot. But we learned historically that there were so many amazing people like Bessie Coleman and Eugene Bullard, even the soldiers, the Black infantry in the Civil War and in World War I, who paved the way, who were change makers in history that allowed Henry to then become a pilot. We learned about Booker T. Washington, who started the Tuskegee University, where all the Tuskegee Airmen learned how to become pilots. And from there, we were able to make our own connections again to our own, who are our change makers. We modeled that with, slides. Actually, this was on a tool called Jamboard, which is a great kind of white or black board that we use on Google. And we were able to give our students an opportunity to say, to think about and use their indicating response, their yes response, to choose, okay, who are the change makers in my life? Of course, Carlos picked Kim, as well as I think everyone picked Charlay, who's our music teacher, very beloved at our school. And Carlos also picked his parents and his sister. And then we took that kind of sequencing map of, cause and effect, change makers affecting who I am today, to then use Jamboard to put together a letter to his sister, Carolina, to thank her for being his change maker. And he used his yes response to explain why she's a change maker in his life. So he formulated the words, "You are my change maker because you help me, you listen to me, you know what I am saying. Thank you, and love, Carlos." So, and then we emailed it to her and she was thrilled. So it was another great textbook that was made and adapted for us with super amazing resources and strategies for teaching our students so they can have access to this, to history in a way that our students really didn't have before our experiences with Retopia. And again, communicative functions, they were able to use words in a letter form to show affection, to name, to share information. Really, really super unit.
And we know we have like 1 minute left, so we're just going to quickly, just tell you what is on our minds. It feels like it's been, a year since we just presented this like a month or two ago at ATIA, but we're constantly, have new things on our mind, and we're really, being thoughtful and, digging into this whole culturally and historically responsive literacy. And if you haven't read it, there's a book called Cultivating Genius by Dr. Goldie Muhammad that talks about the 5 layers of historically responsive literacy that are identity, intellect, skills, criticality, and joy. And it's really a tool for us to use when we're choosing our next units or the books that we're reading in our classrooms. Looking at, the identity, how each text will help our students learn something about themselves or others. Intellect, how they build their own knowledge, mental powers. The skills, all of these amazing skills, literacy skills that you learned today, how a text can help them with that. Criticality, how a text can engage students thinking about power and equity, which is such a huge topic in our lives right now. And of course, joy, which we always, think about and embody, especially here at the Carter School. How will this text advance students' happiness and elevate beautiful, truthful images about themselves and others? So we just wanted to really end on this and just say that, we are so grateful to that you invited us here today. And, we had so many more things to talk and share with you about, but, we are here if you guys have any questions. And Sarah, if you have any closing remarks.
Yeah, we do have so much that we want to share, and we're so excited about having the opportunity to use this tool. And it really, really has made a huge difference in what we're doing at the Carter School, and so much fun to work with Kim. And
Ditto, Sarah.
Yeah, to actually give access to our students in this way is just, yeah, it's been great. All righty. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, Kim and Sarah, that was wonderful. I can't thank you enough for sharing with us. And we'll have to invite you back for parts 2 and 3 and 4 as we continue.
Okay, great.
It's a series. I feel it, Jen.
Okay,
I like
great.
that.
Well, thank you guys so much. Yeah, if you ever have any other questions or, want us to share anything, you just let us know.
Thank you so much. A wealth of resources, and it was great to see this work in action. Like, we can do this for all students,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
We can do it. And your enthusiasm is contagious. I want to come work at the Carter School. It's so exciting.
All right.
Thank you so much. We'll stop recording. If we'll stop recording now, but if folks want to